The darkness between galaxies was deep and silent. Stars were tiny distant points of light, scattered across the endless black. In this vast emptiness, a fleet emerged, moving with careful precision. Thousands of ships, each bearing the marks of centuries in deep space, slid silently through the void. At the front of the fleet was the flagship, Endurance. On its bridge, Commander Jinso stood tall, her eyes fixed on the faint glow of the Milky Way far ahead. Her black hair streaked with silver was tied in a braid. At 70 years old, she was still young by the standards of her people, who now lived much longer than their ancient ancestors. Approaching the outer markers, Lieutenant Park Minjun reported, his voice calm but tense. It has been 60,000 years since humanity left Earth. We are finally back. Jinso nodded slowly, letting the weight of the number sink in. 60,000 years. It was almost impossible to understand. Every child in the fleet had learned the history by heart. Every generation had remembered. Every story told of a blue world called Earth, full of forests, oceans and mountains, a planet that humans had once called home. And what of the Krell? Asked Captain Lihuan, her second in command. They think we are extinct, Jinso replied quietly. They believe our species ended long ago. They have no idea what we have become. The fleet had survived against impossible odds. When the Krell Dominion had destroyed Earth, only a handful of generation ships had escaped into the void. 5 ships carrying 50,000 humans. That was all that remained of billions. They had fled far beyond their galaxy, traveling in darkness where no one could follow. There, in the cold emptiness, humanity had endured, adapted, and evolved. Commander, Minjun continued, scouts have been inside Krell territory for 3 months. Their fleet has grown stronger. They control thousands of star systems, but their defenses are concentrated in the core systems. The borders are weak. Jinso allowed herself a small smile. The Krell were complacent. They had ruled without challenge for 10,000 years. They believed themselves invincible. They had never faced a species that had survived 60 millennia in the void. They do not know what 60,000 years in the dark does to a species, she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. They do not know what we are capable of. Below the bridge, the fleet moved in perfect silence. Every ship was prepared for battle, but none fired a shot yet. The humans did not rush blindly into war. They had spent centuries preparing, learning, and evolving. Their technology was efficient and deadly. Ships were smaller than Krell vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. Weapons were developed in isolation over thousands of generations, designed to surprise enemies who thought they had nothing to fear. Jinso turned to her crew, her dark eyes glowing with quiet determination. We are here for justice, she said. Not revenge. Revenge is about making them hurt. Justice is about making them answer for what they did. We will remind the galaxy that humanity existed. That we matter. That you cannot erase a species and forget it. Her words were met with quiet nods and focused attention. There were no cheers. No celebrations. Humanity had learned patience and discipline in the void. Their survival had depended on it. The fleet moved closer to the outer borders of Krell space. Scouts returned with new data, showing signs of alien patrols, communications, and stations. All of it was routine, predictable. The Krell did not suspect anything unusual. They believed that humanity was a long-forgotten memory. Jinso watched the stars, thinking of the world they had lost, the stories passed down through 3,000 generations. Every child had grown up learning about Earth, learning about the Krell attack, learning about the fleet's survival in the void. These stories had become their history, their culture, and their reason for existing. We are approaching the galaxy, Minjun said. All ships maintain dark running procedures. No active sensors. No communications except via quantum link. Jinso nodded. Until I give the word. Silent running. Remember your training. Remember your purpose. Remember Earth. The fleet adjusted course, sliding like shadows between distant stars. Their engines glowed faintly, barely visible, as they moved toward the heart of Krell territory. This was not just a journey of revenge, it was a journey to reclaim their place in the galaxy, to remind the universe that humanity survived against impossible odds. As Jinso stood at the front of the bridge, she gazed at the Milky Way stretching across the viewing screen. Somewhere within that spiral of light was a small yellow sun, and orbiting it, a dead world once called Earth. She felt a cold resolve settle in her chest. Time to come home, she whispered. The fleet advanced silently, and the galaxy held its breath. The fleet drifted silently through the dark expanse. Stars glimmered like distant fireflies, and the void felt endless. Inside the flagship Endurance, Commander Jinso walked slowly along the bridge, her eyes scanning the tactical displays. She thought about the centuries humanity had spent away from the galaxy, hidden in the emptiness. "Commander," Lieutenant Minjun spoke softly, "the crew is curious. Some wonder, what have we become? Are we still human after all these generations?" Jinso paused and looked out at the faint glow of the Milky Way. "We are what we had to be to survive," she said. "Stronger, faster, smarter. But more than that, we are determined. Every child, every generation has carried the memory of Earth with them. That memory has shaped us into something the Krell could never imagine." Below the bridge, the ship's corridors were quiet but alive with movement. Engineers checked systems, pilots monitored scanners, and medics observed the crew. Every human in the fleet had been trained for centuries to survive, to adapt, and to fight if needed. Life in the void had changed them. Their bodies healed faster. Their minds could calculate risks across centuries. They thought differently, on a scale of generations, not years. "Commander," Minjun said again, "the scouts are sending more detailed maps of Krell territory. Their defenses are spread thin along the borders. They do not expect threats from outside. They believe we are gone forever." Jinso allowed herself a faint, cold smile. "Then they will be surprised." She walked to the large viewing window. Beyond the glass, the stars stretched endlessly, and in the distance a small, pale yellow sun shone faintly. Orbiting it was a dead world once called Earth. Jinso's hand pressed lightly against the glass. "We've carried this memory for 60,000 years. Every failure, every struggle, every victory in the void, it has prepared us for this moment." The crew's life in the void had been harsh. Resources were limited. They had to learn to recycle every atom, every drop of water, every gram of food. They had learned to repair ships in orbit, to navigate the deep darkness without maps, and to survive storms of radiation and cosmic debris. Humans had evolved quietly, genetically and technologically. Their bodies could live longer. Their minds adapted to think in centuries. Ships were smaller than Krell vessels but far more efficient. Weapons had been developed in isolation, using principles that the Krell had never encountered. Their attacks were precise, their defenses silent, and their strategy shaped over thousands of generations. "Commander," Captain Lihuan said from her station, "these changes, they make humans almost unpredictable. The Krell will never understand us until it is too late." "That is exactly how it should be," Jinso replied. "We are not returning to beg for mercy. We are returning to claim what is ours. And the galaxy will see that humanity cannot be erased." Meanwhile, deep in the fleet, scouts continued their reconnaissance. They watched Krell patrols, studied supply lines, and mapped the movements of alien ships. Every detail mattered. Every weakness could be exploited. Humanity had been patient for 60,000 years. They had trained, observed, and waited for the right moment to strike. Minjun approached Jinso with a small holo display. "Commander, the Krell's outer colonies are poorly defended. We could strike quietly, take control, and avoid a direct confrontation with their main fleet." Jinso studied the display carefully. "No, not yet. We strike with patience. Let them believe we are nothing more than shadows. Only when the time is right do we show them what 60,000 years of survival has made us." A small murmur ran through the bridge crew. They understood. Every human in the fleet knew the stakes. They were not just fighting for survival, they were carrying the legacy of Earth, and the memory of billions lost to the Krell dominion. In the quiet moments, Jinso allowed herself to remember. She remembered the stories her grandmother had told, stories passed down through 3,000 generations. Stories of green forests, deep oceans, mountains that reached the sky, and skies filled with clouds. Stories of cities alive with people, laughter, and life. And then, the stories of the Krell attack. The fire, the destruction, the oceans boiling, the cities burning, and the helpless cries of those who could not escape. The memory was heavy, but it fueled determination. It was not anger that guided them now, but purpose. A purpose shaped over millennia in the cold, dark void. "Prepare the fleet," Jinso said finally. "Silent running until I give the order. We move as one. We strike as one. We will remind the galaxy that humanity exists, and that we cannot be erased." The human fleet shifted slightly, engines dim, weapons ready, moving through the blackness like shadows across a canvas of stars. Their journey was not yet over. The galaxy did not yet know what had returned. And in the silent darkness, humanity prepared to remind them. The silence of space was broken only by the faint hum of human ships. The fleet moved like shadows, hidden among distant stars and asteroid fields. For 60,000 years, humanity had survived in the void, and now they were finally approaching Krell territory. On the bridge of the flagship Endurance, Commander Jinso studied the tactical screens. All scouts report minimal patrols, she said. Outer colonies are lightly defended. The Krell think we are gone forever. Lieutenant Minjun leaned forward. Commander, sensors detect movement ahead. Alien patrols, but slow and predictable. They are unaware of our presence. Jinso nodded. Good. We continue silently. No signals. No transmissions. We are shadows. In the blackness, alien scout ships glided past, scanning the empty space. They were large, dark, and imposing, with glowing blue cores that pulsed like eyes. The Krell believed they were the strongest in the galaxy. They believed no species could survive 60 millennia in isolation. They were wrong. Captain Lihuan watched the approaching patrols. Commander, if they detect us, the alarm will alert the entire fleet. We must remain invisible. Jinso's eyes narrowed. That is why we hide in plain sight. They will never expect humans to survive. And even if they do, they will never understand what we have become. Deep inside the fleet, scouts prepared for their first reconnaissance mission. Small ships slipped away from the main fleet, moving faster than Krell sensors could track. Cameras and sensors captured every patrol pattern, every communication relay, every weak point in the Krell outer defenses. A young pilot named Sarah spoke nervously over the comms. Commander Jinso, it's strange, seeing their ships again after all this time. It's unsettling. Jinso's voice was calm yet firm. Do not let emotion cloud your judgment. We survive because we are disciplined. Remember Earth. Remember our ancestors. And remember what we have become. The scouts reported back after hours of careful observation. Commander, Minjun said, Krell patrols are sparse but they are growing suspicious. Some signals indicate unusual patterns, brief anomalies that suggest intelligence. They may sense something, but not yet understand what it is. Jinso allowed herself a faint smile. Good. Let them wonder. Curiosity will blind them to danger. Meanwhile, across the galaxy on Krell Prime, Supreme Commander Star and his council studied the outer sectors. There are strange readings in our borders, Star said, his voice heavy with authority. Scans detect something moving through empty space. Intelligence suggests it may be humans. Impossible. One young officer, Torvin, hesitated. Commander, humans were destroyed 60,000 years ago. Any remaining ships would have perished long ago. These readings, they must be anomalies. Star's eyes glowed. Then these anomalies will be crushed before they reach us. Prepare the fleet. Any threat from the void must be eliminated immediately. Back on the Endurance, Jinso studied the Krell fleet positions. They are focused on their core systems, she said. Outer defenses are minimal. Their arrogance blinds them. They believe the galaxy is safe from humans. Captain Lihuan nodded. And when we strike, they will learn the truth too late. The fleet moved in coordinated silence, threading through asteroid belts and cosmic debris. Every ship followed precise routes. Every weapon was loaded but hidden. Humans had mastered stealth in the void, and the Krell had no way of anticipating what was coming. Even in the quiet, tension grew. Each crew member felt it, the weight of history, the memory of Earth, the legacy of millions of humans who had survived exile. One wrong move could expose the fleet. One mistake could bring the wrath of the most powerful alien empire in the galaxy. Suddenly, a scout reported an approaching alien vessel. Commander, one Krell patrol is on an unexpected course. They may detect us in moments. Jinso's voice was steady. Hold position. Do not engage. Let them pass. Our time is not yet. Patience has carried us for 60,000 years, it will carry us now. The patrol glided past, unaware of the massive fleet waiting in silence. The tension on the bridge eased slightly but only for a moment. Remember, Jinso said quietly, we are the humans who survived the impossible. The Krell do not know fear. But they will soon learn respect. The fleet continued its slow advance. Somewhere ahead, hidden among the stars, waited the Krell outer colonies. The first contact had not yet happened, but it was coming. And when it did, the galaxy would witness the return of a species that had been written off as extinct. The blackness of space stretched endlessly before the human fleet. The stars glittered faintly, like distant promises of light in the void. The Krell outer colonies lay ahead, sprawling cities of metal and crystal on barren planets. The humans had observed them for weeks, studying their defenses, memorizing patrol routes and calculating every weakness. On the bridge of the flagship Endurance, Commander Jinso stood silently. Her dark eyes scanned the tactical displays. All ships maintain dark running, she said. No signals. No transmissions. Let them see nothing until the moment we strike. Lieutenant Minjun nodded. Commander, the patrol rotations show vulnerabilities. We can hit their supply stations and orbital defenses without alerting the main fleet. Good, Jinso replied. We remind them who survived. But we do it carefully, not recklessly. Precision is key. Humanity has waited 60,000 years for this. We will not fail now. Below decks, the pilots prepared their small, swift strike craft. Every engine, weapon, and shield system was checked multiple times. The humans had survived in the void by mastering efficiency. Their ships were smaller than Krell warships, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and deadly. Weapons were crafted in secret over thousands of generations, based on principles the Krell had never encountered. Young pilot Sarah adjusted her visor, glancing nervously at the others. Do you think they will notice us? We are ghosts, replied her wingmate calmly. They won't see us until it is too late. That's the advantage we have waited millennia for. Jinso turned back to the tactical screen. Red markers showed Krell supply stations, lightly guarded orbital platforms, and scattered patrols. Target the stations first, she ordered. Disable communications and energy cores. Leave the Krell confused and off balance. Then we move closer. The fleet split into smaller groups, each slipping past detection fields, using asteroid belts and nebulae for cover. The humans moved with perfect coordination, a symphony of stealth and efficiency. Their enemy had not expected them to return. They had believed humanity extinct. They had been wrong. The first strike began. Gravity spears, advanced energy torpedoes, and precise plasma beams fired from the hidden human ships. Orbital supply depots erupted in brilliant explosions, sending shards of metal and fire into space. Krell patrols scrambled, but it was too late. Communications were cut. Confusion spread like wildfire. On the bridge of the Endurance, Jinso's hand rested lightly on the console. She watched the chaos unfold. Well done, she said quietly. They will learn that humanity does not surrender easily. In one of the Krell stations, alarm sirens blared. Officers shouted orders, but panic had begun to take hold. Unknown ships, one officer screamed. They are attacking the supply platforms. Ambassador Vex Karn observed from a holographic display. Impossible, he muttered. Humans were destroyed 60,000 years ago. There is no fleet. No survivors. But the evidence was undeniable. One by one the Krell patrols fell. Human pilots struck quickly, then vanished into the shadows of space before reinforcements could arrive. Captain Lihuan's voice broke the tense silence of the bridge. Commander, the Krell outer defenses are collapsing faster than predicted. They are disorganized. Jinso nodded. Good. Maintain pressure, but do not reveal our main fleet yet. Keep them guessing. Every moment we delay them, we gain advantage. Deep in the shadows, scouts observed the Krell fleet's movements. They sent rapid updates to the Endurance, showing where reinforcements were weak and poorly coordinated. Humanity had the advantage of knowledge and preparation. The Krell had relied on arrogance. The humans relied on patience and strategy. Below deck, crew members shared quiet glances. There were no cheers, no triumphant cries. This was work, not celebration. Every human knew the stakes. The Krell were powerful, their fleets vast, and their weapons deadly. But humanity had survived in the void for 60,000 years. They were not the same species the Krell had once crushed. Jinso turned to her crew, her voice firm but calm. This is only the beginning. We strike silently, efficiently, and with purpose. Remember Earth. Remember every generation that came before us. We are the humans who survived the impossible. The fleet continued its precise, deadly dance. Supply stations burned. Orbital defenses fell. The Krell outer colonies were thrown into chaos, and yet the main fleet remained unaware. Humanity had made its first move, and the galaxy had begun to notice that the species they thought extinct had returned. The fires of the first strike still glowed in the void. Krell supply stations were destroyed, orbital defenses shattered, and the outer colonies were thrown into chaos. For the first time in millennia, the Krell Dominion felt uncertainty, confusion, and fear. On Krell Prime, Supreme Commander Star sat at the head of the Circular Council table. Around him, 12 of the most powerful military commanders murmured uneasily. Holographic displays showed burned stations, destroyed patrols, and anomalies in outer space. Impossible, Star said, his voice cold but tight with tension. Reports suggest humans are active again. After 60,000 years they are back. Torvin, the young officer, looked nervous. Commander, our outer patrols report strange fleet movements. At first we thought they were anomalies, but now, his voice trailed off. Star's four glowing eyes narrowed. The humans, they survived? That cannot be. They were destroyed. Extinct. But the reports are real, Torvin said quietly. Sensors show coordinated attacks. Supplies destroyed. Patrols eliminated. Star slammed his clawed hand on the table. Activate full alert. Gather the fleet. We cannot allow this species to grow bold. Find them. Destroy them. Immediately. Back in the human fleet, the atmosphere was tense but controlled. Commander Jinso studied the reports from scouts. The Krell are beginning to realize we are here, she said calmly. Patience is still our weapon. We strike where they are weakest, and they will not understand until it is too late. Captain Lihuan nodded. Their panic will spread quickly. If we play this right, we can use their confusion against them. Jinso turned to her officers. We have waited 60,000 years for this. Every generation trained, every child taught, every plan perfected. We cannot fail now. Continue silent running. Keep our fleet hidden. Wait for the right moment. Meanwhile, within the Krell outer colonies, whispers of betrayal and failure spread. Some commanders suspected their peers of incompetence. Others feared spies. Rumors ran wild. Are the humans using technology we cannot detect? One officer asked nervously. Yes, replied another. And they are precise. Every strike is calculated. No error, no waste. They are unlike any species we have faced before. The Krell Dominion had been dominant for thousands of years. They had crushed every species that resisted them. Yet now, a species they thought extinct had returned, not with a desperate, weak fleet but with cunning, skill and patience. They had underestimated humans and their arrogance would be their downfall. On the Endurance, Jinso walked quietly along the bridge. Do you think they suspect our numbers? She asked Minjun. No, he replied. They believe we are a small remnant, scattered and weak. They do not understand what 60,000 years of survival can do to a species. Jinso's eyes gleamed. Then we will let them learn the hard way. She looked at the holographic displays of the Krell fleet. Red markers showed ships moving into the outer colonies to investigate the attacks. The Krell were mobilizing, but it was too late. Humanity's fleet was already hidden among asteroids and nebulae. They had studied every patrol, every supply line, every communication channel. The humans knew the Krell's weaknesses better than the aliens themselves. In the shadows, a small scout ship returned from a covert mission. Commander, the pilot reported, we found one Krell officer communicating with a suspected ally in the outer colonies. There may be internal betrayal. Some factions do not trust the council entirely. Jinso smiled faintly. Good. Confusion is our ally. Let them suspect traitors among themselves. Let them waste resources chasing shadows. We only move when it serves our plan. Captain Lihuan leaned over the tactical display. Commander, the outer colonies are almost paralyzed. Supply lines disrupted. Patrols scattered. They are beginning to panic. Yes, Jinso said softly. And when the main fleet learns we are alive, when they see what humanity has become, the galaxy will remember us forever. Deep in the void, the human fleet remained hidden. For 60,000 years they had trained, adapted, and survived. They had learned patience, strategy, and resilience. Now, as the Krell Dominion began to stir in fear, the humans prepared for the moment when silence would end and the galaxy would witness their return. Every ship in the fleet was ready. Every weapon loaded. Every mind focused. Humanity had waited a long time for this day. And when it came, the Krell would learn that species thought extinct could not only survive but thrive, strike, and overcome. Jinso gazed at the distant stars, whispering to herself, Remember Earth. Remember our ancestors. Remember everything. It is time to show them who we are. The Krell fleet was moving fast. Reports from outer colonies showed total chaos. Supply stations destroyed, patrols scattered, and communication networks crippled. Supreme Commander Star's pride burned with fury. They think they can survive? He growled, his claws gripping the holographic table. After 60,000 years, humans are nothing. Send the fleet. Crush them. Torvin hesitated. Commander, their movements are precise. They are unlike any species we have faced. Star's eyes glowed with anger. I do not care. They will die. In the void, the human fleet readied for the greatest test. Thousands of ships, descendants of 50,000 survivors, moved silently. Every vessel carried generations of knowledge, survival skills, and advanced technology perfected in isolation. On the Endurance, Commander Jinso studied the tactical displays. The Krell fleet was massive, more powerful than the humans could face directly. But their arrogance blinded them. Their formations were predictable, their defenses focused inward. Humanity's patience and cunning would turn the odds in their favor. All ships, Jinso commanded, maintain silent running until my mark. We strike as one. Precision first, then overwhelming force. Remember Earth. Remember every generation. Show the galaxy what humanity has become. The first shots were quiet but deadly. Human strike craft darted out from nebulae and asteroid shadows. Gravity spears and plasma torpedoes struck isolated Krell ships, crippling them before they could respond. Alien vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs against the black of space. On the bridge, Minjun reported, outer defenses collapsing faster than expected. Enemy morale is low. Confusion spreading. Jinso nodded. Good. Keep pressure. Do not waste lives. Only strike where it counts. The Krell fleet tried to regroup. Supreme Commander Star barked orders, but the humans had anticipated their moves. Every patrol, every formation, every countermeasure was countered with surgical precision. Humans were smaller, yes, but faster, smarter, and lethal. Captain Lihuan's voice cut through the tension. Commander, they're trying to retreat to the core systems. Our strike craft can intercept. Jinso's eyes glimmered with determination. Do it. Intercept and disable. We show them that no corner of their empire is safe. Meanwhile, in Krell Prime, Vex Karn watched the reports with disbelief. Impossible, he whispered. These humans, they are not what we thought. They are evolved, perfected, unstoppable. Torvin's face was pale. They are not just fighting, they are rewriting the rules of engagement. The outer colonies are lost. Fleet morale is collapsing. The Krell had relied on superiority, on fear, on their reputation. Humanity had relied on patience, preparation, and cunning. And now, those centuries of planning, those 60,000 years of survival showed their power. In the heart of the battle, the Endurance led a strike against the main Krell flagship. Plasma bolts bounced off the alien vessel's hull, but human tactics were precise. Using high-speed maneuvers and advanced energy disruptors, the flagship was disabled. Krell commanders panicked. Jinso addressed her crew. Focus fire on their command structures. Minimize casualties. We are here for justice, not mindless destruction. Show them what we have become. The fleet moved as one, a shadow of silent death, striking the Krell at their weakest points. Every strike was calculated. Every maneuver was executed with perfection. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Krell realized that humanity could not be crushed. Hours passed like minutes. By the time the battle slowed, the outer Krell fleets were decimated. Supply lines destroyed. Communication systems disabled. Entire colonies cut off. The humans had achieved what no one believed possible. On the bridge of the Endurance, Jinso allowed herself a brief smile. The galaxy is beginning to remember us, she said quietly. We are not extinct. We are not weak. We are humanity. Lihuan nodded. Commander, the main fleet is retreating, disorganized and demoralized. We have the advantage. Jinso's eyes turned toward the distant stars. Somewhere, in the spiral of the Milky Way, lay the memory of Earth. The battle was over, but the war for justice, and for recognition, was only beginning. In the void, the human fleet moved silently among the wreckage. Every ship carried the weight of history, every crew member felt the pride of surviving 60,000 years of exile. They had faced the most powerful empire in the galaxy and emerged victorious. And the Krell would never forget it. The remnants of the Krell fleet retreated into the deeper reaches of the galaxy. Their communication networks were in shambles, their outer colonies destroyed, and their soldiers demoralized. Humanity had returned and the galaxy had taken notice. On the bridge of the flagship Endurance, Commander Jinso stood quietly, gazing at the stars. The Milky Way stretched across the viewing screen, a spiral of light and shadow. Somewhere among its billions of stars lay a small, pale sun, and orbiting it, the memory of Earth, long dead but never forgotten. Lieutenant Minjun approached. Commander, the Krell outer forces are in full retreat. There is no organized resistance. The galaxy is silent, for now. Jinso nodded slowly. For now, she replied. We did not strike for revenge alone. We struck for justice. For every generation that survived in exile. For every human who dreamed of returning to Earth. The fleet moved cautiously, passing through the burned-out remains of Krell stations and shattered patrols. Humanity had proven that survival, patience and ingenuity could overcome even the greatest power. Yet, Jinso knew that this was only the beginning. The Krell Dominion was vast and their core systems were still formidable. Captain Lihuan spoke up. "Commander, should we pursue them further? Finish what we started." Jinso shook her head. "Not yet. We have made our point. The galaxy now knows humans exist. The Krell know we are not extinct. Our victory is a message, not a slaughter. This is what sets humanity apart. We survive, we fight, but we do not lose ourselves in hatred." Far across the galaxy, on Krell Prime, Supreme Commander Star stared at reports of the attacks. The scale of humanity's return had shaken even his centuries of confidence. Ambassador Vex Karn's voice trembled as he spoke. "They are not just humans. They are something else. Refined, perfected. They are not a species we can dismiss." Torvin, the young officer, looked uneasy. "Sir, they survived 60,000 years in exile. They returned stronger than any empire we know. Their fleet, their technology, it is unlike anything we have faced." Star's claws clenched the table. "Then we will remember. But we will not forget." Back in the human fleet, Jinso addressed her officers. "Today we fought not for revenge. Today we fought to remind the galaxy that humanity existed. We survived when all odds were against us. And we will continue to survive, to grow, and to protect our legacy." The officers nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Every human in the fleet carried the memory of Earth, the story of survival, and the determination of thousands of generations. They were not just a species, they were a testament to endurance, resilience, and hope. The fleet began its slow journey back toward the spiral of stars where Earth had once thrived. Though the planet was dead, the humans remembered its forests, oceans, mountains, and cities. Those memories fueled them, driving their technology, their tactics, and their unity. Commander Jinso stood at the front of the bridge, watching the stars pass by. "Perhaps one day," she said quietly, "we will rebuild. Not just for ourselves, but for the galaxy to see what humanity is capable of. We were exiled, forgotten, and underestimated. But we are still here. And we always will be." Lieutenant Minjun smiled faintly. "It feels like coming home, Commander. Even if the planet itself is gone." Jinso nodded. "Home is not just a place. Home is survival, hope, and memory. Home is humanity." The human fleet moved silently through the void, victorious but measured. They had struck a lesson into the Krell Dominion, showing that arrogance and cruelty could not erase a species that refused to die. As they passed the spiral arms of the Milky Way, the stars reflected in the windows of the Endurance. Each light was a reminder of what was lost, and what had been reclaimed. Humanity had returned, not as a weak remnant, but as a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. In the silence of space, Commander Jinso whispered to herself, "We came back to remind them. We came back to remind ourselves. Humanity survives. Humanity endures. Humanity will never be forgotten."